Well, judgment in the fraud case involving Gupta associates linked to the Nulane Investments case will be handed down in the Free State High Court this morning. I remind you of the names: Iqbal Sharma, Tanuka Raghavan and Dinesh Patel, along with former senior Free State officials, will know if the court found them guilty of fraud and money laundering regarding the 24.9 million rand that was paid to Nulane Investments by the Provincial Agricultural Department. So let's keep you up to date on the developments. What's going to be a big day for us, for a country, as far as fighting fraud is concerned and justice in the courts. Moloko Moloto on that story for us, and some very big names as well. So and I think the only way to really make sense of it for most people who don't follow it too closely, let's call them the Gupta associates, shall we, Moloko?
That's very correct, Gareth. In fact, this is the very first state capture-related case to go on trial. It went on trial for about 3 weeks, sometime this year. And you are correct that these are the associates of the infamous Gupta family. Why? Because part of the money, the 24.9 million rand that's been paid to this Nulane company, found its way to companies owned by the Guptas. And in fact, we now know that it was through the transaction, this particular transaction, because you would recall that this company, Nulane Investment, was appointed by the Provincial Agriculture Department to do a feasibility study. And it was on the basis of that particular feasibility study's recommendations that the infamous 280 million rand eNCA project was established. Now, these 6 are in court today because the contract was awarded without following the public finance management prescripts, and as a result, the state argues that it was unlawfully awarded. The trial went on, and today, of course, is the big day. It's Judgment Day. The judgment is going to be handed down in terms of Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act. Actually, 5 of the 6 accused decided that they are going to apply so that they can be discharged because they believe the state really made no case against them. However, one of them, the former head of the Agriculture Department, Dimakadzo Morosi, did not apply for Section 174. What it means is that her case is closed. There's not much she can do, whereas I understand that the other 5 who applied for Section 174, if they happen to be found guilty, or the judge says you turns down their Section 174, what it would mean that they will have an opportunity then to close their case, or first to testify so that they can, and if they testify, they will also have to be cross-examined by the state. Now, what we're waiting for really is whether we are going to hear whether the court is going to say, indeed, the state made no case against you, then you can walk, or you actually have a case to answer here. But also importantly, Gareth, today in the very same courtroom, the former Minerals Resources Minister, Mosebenzi Zwane, will be appearing. So Mosebenzi Zwane was the MEC of Agriculture at the time of the Gupta's reign here in this province of the Free State. And he is linked, he's been charged with fraud and corruption related charges there. And what is going to happen is, because the 3 former senior officials who are also the accused in the Nulane case, they are also being accused in that particular case where Mosebenzi Zwane is being charged. So they will first have to appear there, but we understand that the appearance will really be short because it is going to be a pre-trial conference, and possibly the date for their trial for that case, the eNCA case, will be announced. And then immediately after that, the presiding officers will just swap the seats, and we will now hear judgment with regard to Section 174 regarding the Nulane. So a very busy day in the Free State High Court this morning.
Oh, I appreciate the correction. I've been calling it Nulane for a while, but Nulane Investments. Moloko, of course, you're the reporter on the ground. I'll take your word for that, of course. But an incredible amount of money. And once again, it comes back to this issue here in South Africa, and I'm sure you'll agree, we throw around millions and billions of rands like it's Smarties. So beyond the court handing down their judgment. This is a justice fight as well for the fight against fraud and corruption in our country. While it is just a court case, the broader spectrum of the story is justice in our country and showing that the courts are not going to put up with fraud and corruption.
Well, that is correct. Firstly, regarding Nulane or Nulane, in fact, we have also been calling it Nulane. Why? Because in court during the trial, even the lawyers themselves were calling Nulane, and only on the last day of the trial we were corrected by the lawyer for Iqbal Shama, the owner or the director of Nulane. He said everybody has been calling this Nulane. The correct name is Nulane. Now, what is also important here, Gareth, is that the Guptas themselves, if they were still in the country, they were supposed to be tried and charged for fraud and corruption related case in this particular matter, but because they are out of the country, they are the fugitives, they couldn't stand trial. Nonetheless, the trial had to continue without them. We now know that the attempts to extradite them back to South Africa have hit a snag, and up to so far there are no guarantees that they will come back. But what we know, as evidence was presented before this court, a lot of money actually made its way into their companies, and this is why you also have the issue of money laundering as well. And importantly, the Gupta associates had been appointed in positions of responsibility during their time here, especially when Ace Magashule was still the premier of the province, because at some point Ace Magashule appointed one gentleman called Anosh Narayan, who is an associate of the Gupta, as his advisor in the office of the premier. And that is where we began to saw this scheme expanding so much that the Guptas were really having a field day. Unfortunately for South Africa, the Guptas are not in the dock, and this judgment, possibly, whatever happens, it will pave the way in terms of what will be happening with regard to many other cases that the Guptas are involved in.
Yeah, it certainly was going to be the big question as well. Imagine how different this would have been if the Gupta brothers had been extradited back to South Africa. Nonetheless, the wheels of justice keep rolling, even if it is in their absence. Moloko Moloto, thank you very much indeed. We'll come back to you again in Bloemfontein later in the day.